Hello, my friends. This is Brian, the Speaker for the Dead, coming to you tonight to speak the death of a hero of mine. And from the title, you already know that I am speaking the death of Rush Limbaugh. Now, a lot of people are going to see this as a political video, or they're going to look at this and think, Rush Limbaugh, oh, he's either supporting or negative or positive. Or I look at Rush Limbaugh in a very different way. Yes, he was a political figure, but he was never a politician. He was a commentator. He was an informational source for millions of people. He was a thinker and a thought provoker. He was an agitator at times, but never, I don't think he ever meant it in a bad way. I remember first hearing Rush Limbaugh when I was a little boy, as my dad would listen to him during the day. And it used to just irritate me to no end to have to listen to this guy talking about stuff I didn't understand, didn't care about. I wanted music. Turn the music on. And but he never did, thankfully. He was smart enough to know that you don't listen to a little kid about things like that. And even though I probably didn't mean to, I learned some things. And over a long period of time, it wasn't until I was in my teens, my late teens and 20s before I actually ever started listening to Rush on my own, by my own choice. And at first, I found him difficult to listen to still. I thought he was brilliant, very intelligent, smart, had cool takes on things, but I struggled with his braggadocious manner, his blustering, his comments like beating liberals with half my brain tied behind my back. And saying things like, you know, I am here, Rush Limbaugh, with talent on loan from God. And that's how he'd say it. And I found that very braggadocious and found that very blustery. And I've never really cared for people who love to toot their own horn. It wasn't until years later that I realized he wasn't bragging at all. And he wasn't tooting his own horn. He was actually paying homage to God in his own way, saying that the talent that he had, the talent that he used, the things that he did, his success, it was all coming from God. That the talent he had was just on loan, and it was somebody else's, and it was a higher power. It was almost an ultimate way of being humble about what he did and could do. To say that he used half his brain and could still beat the liberals, well, that was not really a taunt either. It was just his way of saying, how does everybody not get this? How does everybody not understand that these are fundamental truths that most people ought to just know from common sense? Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't always agree with Rush Limbaugh about everything. I found his absolutism about capitalism a little tough to swallow at times. I do love capitalism. I think capitalism is the best system we have, but it's not the best system. But given the options, socialism, communism, totalitarianism, monarchies, whatever other system you want to name, capitalism and republics and democratic republics are the best system that we have, the best system available to us, especially as fallible human beings. He was an absolute lover of America, the Constitution, the Founding Fathers. He wrote children's books about the Founding Fathers to help teach kids what the Founding Fathers were really about, what we're really all about. He talked about the truths, about the good and the bad of America, but he focused on the good because America's made mistakes. America's not perfect. America was formed to create a more perfect union, not a perfect union. There were mistakes. There were things that we had inherited from Great Britain and the other nations that people had come from, that came to this country originally, that we had to defeat. We had to overcome, slavery being the biggest. Slavery wasn't an American ideal. That was something that was handed to us by the British. And it took us how long and how many lives to finally end it? And it's a stain upon American history. But what America has done that is good, it's so much bigger than what it's done that might have been bad or has been bad. And to condemn everything, condemn the founders, condemn the Constitution, condemn all of that we are, everything that our country has been up until now, because of some mistakes that we made, that's just evil people's way of trying to seek power. Something that Rush Limbaugh fought his entire life to prevent. And as I say, he was a flawed man. He was an imperfect man. He was a drug addict. He was addicted to prescription drugs. Because of a failed back surgery, he was constantly in pain and eventually became addicted to drugs and did illegal things to obtain the drugs that he was addicted to. But he wasn't an addict out of choice. He wasn't an addict because he went looking for it. There was a legitimate reason why things started, and then he went wrong. And he did some he didn't do terrible things, but he did stupid things that addicts do. And he paid a price, a very heavy price. And I'm not talking about a knock to his reputation. I'm talking about his hearing. Rush Limbaugh lost most of his hearing due to damage from the drugs that he was taking. The prescription drugs, legal drugs that he was taking illegally. He lost most of his hearing and spent the rest of his life after the addiction having to have a cochlear ear implant just so that he could hear basic sounds. So he paid a price. He lost listeners, I'm sure. People thought because he was not perfect that somehow that made him a horrible human being. But he admitted his wrongs and he fixed it and he went on. And I'll never judge anybody totally by their mistakes. I judge them on whether they chose to continue their mistakes. Did they choose to keep being evil? Did they choose to keep doing terrible, awful things? Or did they realize their mistakes and change? And he did. As I said, I'm sure he was a prideful man. He had a lot to be proud of. Although pride is still a terrible thing when taken too far, but I don't think he ever did. But I honor Rush Limbaugh. He created something amazing, unique, special, unheard of in American radio history. He took an industry, the AM radio industry, that was dying, that was slowly losing all their listenership. Everybody was switching to FM and other forms of communication, television, and all the things that had started to eat away at radio. And he saved AM radio almost single-handedly. If it wasn't for him, AM radio would be a thing of the past, just like it is in Europe now, because they didn't have a Rush Limbaugh. And he helped stay with the AM stations all the way till his death. He never went to Sirius. He never went and devoted himself to podcasts. I was always frustrated by the fact that he didn't move into more technological forms of entertainment, because as a truck driver, it was really hard to be able to listen to his show every day, trying to find the next radio station that was carrying him. But he stayed loyal to the people who had got him where he was, the AM radio stations. He was a loyal man and a good man, however flawed he might have been. He passed away having had no children and only leaving his wife behind. Catherine went on to help him create a drinks company, 2 by T, and from all I understand, it was a success. I didn't ever hear much about it in later years, but then I wasn't a tea drinker, so it wasn't something that I paid a lot of attention to. But I am grateful today for Rush Limbaugh. I am grateful for every day I spent listening to his show, hearing a different point of view. Because I listen to a lot of different point of views. I'll listen to anybody who has something of common sense. I'll listen to liberals, I'll listen to conservatives, but the second they go and start saying crazy stuff, I stop listening. Rush never did that to me. Rush never changed who he was. He never altered his beliefs. He was true and consistent to himself and to his beliefs. He loved his family, and mentioned them, had his brother on his show. He was a good man, and he will be sorely missed. He won more radio awards than anybody I have ever heard of. Now, maybe there's others, but he won the Marconi Award multiple times, was honored over and over again for his philanthropy and his charity, yet most of the charity he did went under the radar. Nobody ever knew, because he believed in the scriptural belief that you do things because you should, not because you're going to get credit. And that's the kind of man he was. I'm grateful for who he was, what he did, and I will miss him, like I will miss all of the radio greats that I have known that have come and gone in my history, Paul Harvey and so many others. But he was one of the great, probably the greatest. He did something nobody else ever did. Completely changed an industry, saved an industry, and spawned a whole new industry of radio talk show hosts such as Glenn Beck, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, who I'm not a fan of, but he gave him his shot, gave him a chance, helped him get on the road to success, paved the way, and created jobs for who knows how many people, was deeply loyal to his staff and the people who worked with him all those years, Mr. Snerdley, Cookie, and so many others we heard him talk to over the years, yet never heard their voices. And I and my friends, we need to keep them in our prayers. These people lost a great friend. Now, whether you agreed with Rush Limbaugh or not isn't the question. He was a human being, a fellow human being. And I hope that even those who disagreed with him at least respected him for what he did, for what he tried to do, whether they liked what he was trying to do or not. I don't like President Obama, yet I can respect the fact that he stuck true to his beliefs. I absolutely disagree with him on that, but I wouldn't be glad of his death. And I hope that that's where we can all get to, that we get past the pettiness of being hateful and angry and vitriolic to people that we disagree with over politics. Because politics aren't worth hating somebody to their death, or wishing for their death, or being gleeful at their death. The Germans call that Schadenfreude, being gleeful in the misery of others. Strange word, yet it somehow captures the sentiments of just exactly how nasty and foul living your life like that, hoping for the misery of others. I hope that we can all live to be better people than that. I hope that I can. I am definitely no saint and deeply flawed myself, but I try every day to be a little bit better than I was the day before. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. But go out there and do something great for somebody today. Live your beliefs. Speak out. Help other people. Be a philanthropist. Do something great, so that when someday you pass away, you won't go quietly into the night. The people will remember you and say, he helped me. He was a good man. He was a good woman, good person. That's all we can ever really hope for. And I leave you with that, and thank you for watching this video. We'll talk to you next time. Bye now.